Is Spanish your first language? Do you know English, but native speakers keep asking you to say it again? Great pronunciation can add so much confidence to your life. Watch to the end for my favorite ways to improve your accent. You might be fluent in English, but you still keep getting asked to say it again. You might be confused why native English speakers aren't understanding you. It can feel very frustrating and can even cause you to stop speaking up. And I will not have that. Now, this reminds me of one of our students at Pronunciation Pro named Rocio, and she was from Colombia. She moved to an English-speaking country, and she took a lower level job than what she was really qualified for because of her English. She knew she needed a little bit more time to grow in her English and improve in her English. So after a couple of years, she was really fluent in her English, and she had finally had enough. She was tired of being at this lower level job than what she was qualified for. She had had a job back in Colombia with way more responsibility and was overseeing quite a few other people in more of a leadership role. But in this English-speaking country, she was just doing IT work. She was just doing something that she had a great skill in, but she knew she could move into more of these leadership skills. So she had built up her English skills, and she wanted to keep working on her pronunciation and especially build her confidence. She was telling me that one time she was working late on a project that had so many problems with it, but she didn't speak up and share kind of some of her concerns about this project. So instead, she was kind of stuck working late on it and spending way too much time on this project that she wished she would have just spoken up and shared her concerns about it so that they could resolve it as a team. But instead, here she was working late hours. So I want to tell you what happened here at the end of this video because I love the transformation that happened with Rocio. So let's talk about some of these common mistakes that Spanish speakers tend to make. These are habits that need to be retrained. It is possible, and through a lot of repetition and practice, you will be able to improve on these error patterns and so that you sound more like a native speaker. So just like any muscle movement, the more repetition you get, the easier it becomes. Now, the first error pattern that I hear with Spanish speakers is omitting word endings or deleting word endings. Okay, this is especially true with the endings of T and D. Phrases or words like I like become I lie. Okay, do you see how it changes the whole meaning of it when we drop that ending? I like, I lie. I like, I lie. So without that K ending sound, it sounds like I lie. So how about great? If you drop that ending T sound, it becomes gray, gray. Okay, so a totally different word in American English. So let's look at a sentence. So he had something great on his shirt. He had something great on his shirt. So if I drop those ending D's and T's, it would be he has something great on his shirt. Or sure, right? He has something great on his shirt. Okay, and I hear this so often with Spanish speakers, that deleting the ending sound, and it really causes a lot of miscommunication and problems in your English pronunciation. So one thing to remember with the T and the D is you may think, well, native speakers don't really pronounce that T or D, so it's okay for me to drop it. And so this is true, but not. So native speakers don't always release the T or D sound, so it's not a very clear T or D sound, but they always get their mouth in position for it, so it creates kind of this stop sound. D, so that the T and D gets closed off. All right, so read versus re, and read. Okay, totally different to a native English speaker. So you have to get your mouth in position for the T or D, even if you don't release it. All right, the next error pattern is adding a vowel sound in front of the initial S blend. So an S blend is a consonant, is an S and then another consonant next to it. So slide, speak, smile. These are all S blends. Okay, so what I hear often from my Spanish speakers is instead of speak, I hear speak. I speak English. Okay, and instead of smile, I hear smile. Snack, becomes snack, and school is eschool. So practice this by putting it into a short phrase. So I smile, I snack, my school. Okay, so when you put one word in front of that S-blend word and then you just practice saying it without that additional vowel in between, you can really get that practice and repetition in saying that correctly. All right, the third error pattern is substituting the D for the TH sound, and less commonly, but also there, is the T for the voiceless TH sound. Okay, so what this means is instead of the TH sound between our teeth, Spanish speakers tend to pull that to the back of the teeth or behind the teeth to a d. So instead of this, it's dis. This, dis. So we need that tongue between our teeth to be able to pronounce that clear TH sound. This. And so father, not fodder. Father, fodder. Okay. Smooth, smooth versus smood, smood. Okay. Think versus tink. Okay, so this is that, instead of the voiceless TH sound, I'm hearing the T sound. So think, tink. Nothing, nutting. With, wit. Okay, so if that tongue is not between your teeth, you're saying it incorrectly, and native speakers are going to notice that. And sometimes it becomes a totally different word. All right, the fourth error pattern that I hear frequently from our Spanish speakers is the B and the V confusion. So instead of never, I'm hearing never. Instead of very, I'm hearing berry. Instead of have, I'm hearing have. So what's happening, instead of that V sound and that teeth, your teeth coming on your bottom lip, I'm hearing a b. So the lips are coming together. Never, never. Okay, do you hear the difference there? So we want to get that contact from the teeth onto the lips to get that clear v, and it's a friction sound, so v, never. And our voice is on through that. Now the fifth error pattern that I see is with the short vowel errors. Okay, so especially the short I and long E. So I to E, hit, heat, live, leave. Okay, so definitely getting those short I and long E. So let's come back to our story about Rocio. So what she did is she was really tired of being at this lower level. She was really tired of not speaking up and not having the courage and the confidence to speak up in English in these group meetings. And she was just getting dumped with additional work and problems that really shouldn't have been hers. So she had had enough and she was ready to change that. So what she did is that she came and worked through my program, and she built her pronunciation skills. She really worked on her accent, but also she worked on her confidence. And what happened is that she was building her confidence through this process. What happened is she started speaking up more. She started sharing her ideas in group meetings, and she started really using her voice. She was starting to get noticed, okay, by some of her superiors and her bosses. So one day she was working at her desk and the phone rings, and usually Rocio wouldn't have answered it because she was just too self-conscious and insecure about the way she spoke English. But this time she answered it because she had been building that skill and confidence. So she answered the phone. It was one of her superiors, kind of 2 levels up. And this superior was asking her to do a special project. And so she went ahead and talked with him, and she got clear about the project, and she was able to do this project for her superior, which then gave her so much more credibility within her company and allowed her to build that confidence even more. So she almost missed an opportunity by not being confident enough to pick up that phone and have that conversation over the phone with her boss. But instead, she picked up that phone, she kind of stepped into that confidence in speaking English, and she was able to then open up way more opportunities within her company. In the next video, I have a clip from one of my favorite shows, Modern Family, and it's talking about a Spanish speaker and the challenges that she's facing. So go check it out.